Hi, Miss Jessica here again. So, as you know, as part of the research process and as part of your summative grade, you have to respond to the comments I left you here on the right of your research. So, I'm going to take a couple of minutes to just explain to you how to respond to those comments in the context of some mistakes I saw frequently. So, the first thing I'm going to do is just click on the first yellow comment I see. So, I'm going to click here. And if you notice now the comment kind of pops out to the right. So this says, be sure you use only keywords in your search terms. That is, do not type a question into Google. You can get rid of question words and question marks. So I'm going to delete the question mark here, and I'm going to delete who is. Okay? Now, even though this box isn't highlighted yellow, I made the same mistake here. So I'm also going to correct my work here. So again, I'm going to delete how did, and I'm going to delete the question mark. There's two other things you might do with your search terms. The first thing you might do is you might change the wording of your search terms if it's not working for you. So, for example, I might change viewed to German people perspective on Hitler. You don't have to do that, but if you're not getting any sources, you certainly don't have to use the exact same words from the question. They're not the only questions that will pop up quality sources for you. In addition, this source I know came from the source packet that I provided. So actually, I didn't have to type anything into Google to find this source. So if I don't type anything into Google, like it says up here, if you do not type anything, write NA, I'm going to write NA. Cool? Do be careful if you choose to write NA here, because you can only write NA if your source here comes from the source packet I provided you. Otherwise, you need to give search terms. Cool? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on the next bullet, or the next comment. And the next comment says, be sure your notes are paraphrased. That means you should use bullet points and not write incomplete sentences. At its finest sounds like plagiarism. Be sure to fix this or it will result in a 0 on your summative. I'm happy to help, just let me know. And then it says, why is it important to paraphrase when researching? So I'm going to fix my mistake first. So it says, he was the ruler of the Mongol Empire at its finest. So I'm just going to write ruler of Mongol Empire. And then I know when something says like at its finest, it means when it was the best or like the strongest. So I'm just going to write in parentheses, ruler of Mongol Empire, when it was best / strongest. Cool? Now again, this comment isn't highlighted, but I made the same mistake, so I'm going to fix it. So I'm going to say, biggest military leader in the world. And I'm actually going to delete the too. Biggest military leader in world. Perfect. Now, if you notice over here, I asked a question. I said, why is it important to paraphrase when researching? So I'm going to respond to that question by clicking down here where it says reply. So I'm going to write, it is important to paraphrase when researching because, and I'm going to explain why it's important to paraphrase when researching. I'm not going to do that here because I don't want to give you the answer, but obviously you need to continue that sentence and write a complete sentence. Cool? I'm also then next going to click here. This says, be sure your source is reliable. This is not a reliable source because it is written like Wikipedia. Why is it important to use reliable sources when researching? So again, I'm going to respond. It is important to use reliable sources when researching because, and I'm going to explain the because. When I'm done, I'm going to hit reply so that comment appears to me. Now, if you use a source that is not reliable, yes, you do have to go find a reliable one. So I'm a big advocate of either using the source packets I provided or using the databases like we did in our unit on the Silk Road. So I'm going to use the database in this case. So I'm going to go back to the JFK website. Remember, under academics, there's a library and media center, which is right here. And then I'm going to go down to Destiny Quest. Once I get to Destiny Quest, I'm looking for who Genghis Khan is. So I'm going to type in Genghis Khan. And I'm going to go to OneSearch because that's where the databases are. And I really like World Book Student, so I'm going to click on that one. And I'm just going to click the first one because it looks good. It says Genghis Khan is the title, and it's an article, so that's probably what I'm looking for. So I'm going to click on that. And here's my article. Now, I actually have to review the article because I want to make sure it includes this information. So I'm looking to show that it says that the Genghis Khan was the biggest military leader in the world and that he was the ruler of the Mongol Empire. So here it says he was a Mongol conqueror who founded the largest empire in history. So that matches my first bullet point, biggest military leader in the world. And it also matches my second bullet point that shows, there we go. He was the ruler of the Mongol Empire. Now, I think that this box could use some more detail, so I'm actually going to continue reading this to see if there's any other information that I might want to add to describe who Genghis Khan was. Cool. So as I continue reading, it says, he ruled an area that stretched across Central Asia from the Caspian Sea to the Sea of Japan. His name is also spelled Chinggis or Genghis. And here it says, Genghis Khan was a political and military genius who united Mongol and other nomadic tribes into a disciplined, effective fighting force. The Mongol armies were also known for their use of terror. When conquered territories resisted, the Mongols slaughtered the population of entire cities. So I think that sounds important, that they were known for use of terror. So I might add that. Under Khan, military equals known for use of terror. And then I think use of terror might be a little bit of plagiarism, so I might write known for maybe violence, slaughtered entire cities, or killed entire cities. Okay? And then obviously I would keep going with the article. I have one more comment, which is the comment here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on this comment, which says, be sure your notes are accurate. You have some information that is wrong. This source is difficult to understand. Focus on the blue part in the source document on Google Drive that I pulled out for you. And then again, it has a question. Why is it important your notes are accurate when researching? So I'm going to answer the question first. It is important my notes are accurate because... And now I'm going to follow the suggestion here, and I'm going to go back to the Google Drive folder. Oops. That is not the document I want. The Google Drive folder. I'm going to go back to sources. This row is about Hitler, so I'm going to go back to Hitler. And I'm going to scroll down to this blue part. So here it says, even in the description, both of these sources highlight why Adolf Hitler was popular among the German people. This text is challenging to understand. Below is the most important excerpt. So I know that he was popular just from the description that's in the source packet, but I obviously need to explain why. So I'm going to read, and it says, despite the absurdity of the election result at the end of the month, when amid ballot rigging, electoral manipulation, and intense propaganda to conform, according to the official figures, 98.9% voted for the list and thus for the Führer. Hitler was known as the Führer. The remilitarization of the Rhineland was unquestionably a hugely popular move and one widely attributed to Hitler's bold and skillful leadership. Much suggests, in fact, that between the death of Hindenburg in August 1934 and the expansion into Austria and the Sudetenland, 4 years later, Hitler was indeed successful in gaining the backing of the vast majority of German people, something of immeasurable importance for the disastrous course of German policy ahead. Apart perhaps from the immediate aftermath of the astonishing victory in France in summer 1940, Hitler's popularity was never higher than at the height of his foreign policy successes. So foreign policy I know means like interaction with other countries. So I'm guessing he had success in working with other countries. So I'm going to go here I'm going to delete dictator completely, and I'm going to write popular. The question is, how did most of the German people view Hitler? So I'm going to say viewed as popular / well-liked. And then underneath, I'm going to say in 1938, he had success working with other countries, which helped make him popular. And I'm going to come back to see if there's anything else. So it also says, Sebastian Haffner plausibly reckoned that Hitler was succeeded by 1938 in winning the support of the great majority of that majority who had voted against him in 1933. Indeed, Haffner thought that by then Hitler had united almost the entire German people behind him, that more than 90% of Germans were by that time believers in the Fuhrer. In the absence of any genuine test of opposition, and in conditions of intimidation and repression for those who might dare to challenge official propaganda, when the only public opinion which existed was that of the regime's agencies, such a figure can only be guesswork and is probably too high. At the same time, it seems hard to deny that the regime had won much support since 1933, and that this owed much to the perceived personal achievements of Hitler. The personalized focus of the regime's successes reflected the ceaseless efforts of propaganda, which had been consciously directed to creating and building up the heroic image of Hitler as a towering genius. So it sounds like people saw Hitler as a hero because he was really smart. And then there's also this word propaganda, which I don't totally understand. So I'm going to Google it and say definition. So it says here, information, especially of biased or misleading nature, used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. Sorry. So here, I'm going to say seen as heroic because he was smart. And I'm also going to say lots of propaganda. So propaganda is trying to support a specific political cause or point of view that supported Hitler's cause. Cool. And from there, I am going to continue with the remaining questions that I would have in my inquiry table, keeping these same things in mind that I have already corrected. If you have any questions, you can of course email me. I will also be leading 2 sets of office hours online, so take a look at Edline for when those office hours will be, so I can provide support to you during that time as well. See you later.